Good day everyone, my name is Maria Elizabeth A. Salboro and I am going to discuss institutional correction. Lesson 3, Study on Institutional Agencies in the Philippines, Code of Calantiao, Bilibid Prison, San Ramon Prison, and Penal Farm, Iwahig Penal Colony, Correctional Institute for Women, New Bilibid Prison, Davao Penal Colony, Sablayan Penal Farm, Leyte Regional Prison, Provincial Jail System, and Public Attorney's Office, or PAO. Institutional agencies of the Philippines consist of the Bureau of Corrections. So, corrections in the Philippines started during pre-colonial time. It was, however, organized on individual community basis. It was only during the Spanish regime when an organized corrective services was made operational. When the American took over in the 1900s, the Bureau of Prison was created under the Reorganized Act of 1905, dated November 1, 1905, as an agency under the Department of Commoners and Police. It was also paved the way of the reestablishment of San Ramon Prison in 1907, which was destroyed during the Spanish-American War on January 1, 1915. The San Ramon Prison was placed under the auspices of the Prison and Bureau of Prison and started receiving prisoners from Manila. So, in January 1, San Ramon Prison was open. So, they nag-accept sila og mga prisoners from another places like Mindanao. Before the reconstruction of San Ramon Prison, the Americans established in 1904 the Luhid Penal settled now Iwahig Prison and Penal Farm on a vast reservation of 28,072 hectares. It would be rich and irrigate to. So, before reconstruction of San Ramon Prison, the Americans established in 1904 the Luhig Penal Settlement, now called Iwahig Prison and Penal Farm, and vast reservation of 28,072 hectares. It would reach an aggregate total of area of 40,000 hectares in the late 1950s. It was located on the westernmost part of the archipelago and far from the main town of confined irregulatable who the government has found little hope of rehabilitation. So the area was expanded to 41,007 hectares by virtue of Executive Order Number 65 issued by Government Newton Gilbert on October 15, 1912. Other penal colonies were established during the American regime on November 27, 1929. The Correctional Institution for Women, or CIW, was created under Act Number 3579, while Davao Penal Colony in southern Mindanao was opened in 1932 under Act Number 3732. The CIW was founded to provide separate facilities for women founders to cater to their gender deficiency. To date, it was the one woman prison in the country. So, ang pasabot ni siya kay kinahanglan ka ng ilang gi-create ni for na ay lain-laing like gender mo, lahi sila male, lahi po sila og female. So let's go to the next. So owing to the increased number of committals to the Old Bilibid prison in Manila, the new Bilibid prison was established in 1935 in southern suburb of Muntinlupa, Rizal. The old prison was transformed into a receiving center and as a storage facility from farm produce coming from the colonies. It was recently abandoned and under the justification of the public state's authority. After the American regime, two more penal institutions were established. These were Sablayan Prison and Penal Farm in Occidental Mindoro under the Proclamation Number 72 issued on September 26, 1954, and Leyte Regional Prison under Proclamation Number 1101 issued on January 6, 1973. The Bureau of Prison was renamed Bureau of Corrections under the new Administrative Code of 1987, issued on November 23, 1987, and Proclamation Number 495 of the President. It is one of the attached agencies under the supervision and control of the Department of Justice. So let's go to Code of Calantiao. The Code of Raha Calantiao was supposed legal code in the epic history Maragtas that is said to have been written in 1433 by Dato Calantiao, a chief on the island of Negros in the Philippines. The code is now believed by many historians to have been a hoax and that it has actually been written in 1913 by Jose E. Marcos as a part of his historical fiction Las Antiguas Leyendas de la Isla de Negros. In English, the Haitian legend of the island of Negros, which he attributed to a priest named Jose Marcos. So this Code of Calantiao is made by Dato Calantiao. Mura siya gi usub og sulat ni gidugangan og fiction or usub og sulat ni Jose A. Marcos. So let's talk about the articles in Code of Calantiao. This is the Article 1. You shall not kill, neither shall you steal, neither shall you do harm to the aged, lest you incur the danger of death. All those who infringe this order shall be commended to death by being drowning in the river or in the boiling water. So, if mo example, if mo patay mo, more ang consequence ani kay kanang muraglumsan mo sa river or pasuan mo tubig sana kanang gabukal nga tubig or ilunod inyong nawong munay pasabot sa Article 1. In Article 2, you shall obey, let all your death with the headman be made punctually. He who does not obey shall receive for the first time 100 lashes. If the death is large, he shall be commanded to thrust his hand in boiling water thrice. For the second time, he shall not be beaten to death. So, if labag ka sa nabuhat ay sa imong kanang wala ka ni sunod, imong kamot mo gibutang sa boiling water, ikatulo pagbutang. Article 3. Obey you, let no one have women that are very young nor more than he can support, nor be giving to excessive lust he who does not comply with obey. and observe this order shall be commanded to swim for 3 hours for the first time, and for the second time to be beaten to death with sharp thrones. Article 4. Observe and obey. Let no one disturb the quiet of the graves. When passes by the caves and trees where they are, give respect to them. He who does not observe this shall be killed by ants and beaten to death with thorns. Article 5. You shall obey. He who exchange for foods, let it be always done in according with his word. He who does not comply shall be beaten for 1 hour. He would repeat the offense shall be exposed for 1 day among ants. Article 6. You shall oblige to reverse sight that are held in respect, such as those of trees of recognized worth and other sight. He who failed to comply shall pay with 1 month work in gold or in honey. Article 7. These shall be put to death. He who killed trees of venerable appreciance, who shoots arrows at nights at old men and women. He who enters the house of the headman without permission. He who kills a sharp or the sneakered caveman. Slavery. Article 8. Slavery for doom shall be suffered by those who steal away the woman of the headman, by him who keep ill-tempered dogs that beat the headman, by him who burns the field of another. Article 9. All these shall be beaten for 2 days. Who sing while traveling by night, kills the manual, tear the documents belong to the headman, are malicious liars, or who mock the dead. Article 10. It is decreed an obligation that every mother teach secretly to her daughters matter pertaining to laws, and prepare them for womanhood. Let no man be cured nor punish their women when they catch them in the act of adultery. Whatever shall disobey shall be killed by being cut to pieces and thrown to the caveman. Article 11. These shall be burned who by either strength or cunning have mocked and at and escape punishment, or who have killed young boys, or try to steal away the women of the elders. Article 12. These shall be drowned all who interferes with superiors or their owners or master, all these who abuse themselves through their lust. These are those who destroy their anitus or idols by breaking them or throwing them down. Article 13. All these shall be exposed to ants for half a day, who kill black cats during a new moon, or steal anything from the chief or agorans, however small the objects may be. Article 14. These shall be made slaves for life who have beautiful daughters, and deny them to the son of chief, and with bad faith hide them away. Article 15. Concerning belief and superstitions, they shall be beaten who eats the diseased flesh of beasts with which they hold in respect, or the herbs which they considered good, who would or kill the young of Manuel or the white monkeys. Article 16. The finger shall be cut off of all these who breaks idols of woods and clay in their allegiance and temples, for those who destroy the daggers of the Tagalon or break the drinker's jail of the latters. Article 17. These shall be killed who perform sight where idols are kept, and sight where are bird the scared things of their diwatas headmans. He perform his sight in those places shall be burned. Article 18. These who do not cause these rules to be obeyed, if they are headmans, they shall put to death by being stoned and crushed. And if they are agarans, they shall be placed in rivers to be eaten by sharks and cavemen. So let's go to 7 institutional corrections of the Philippines. So, first, New Bilibid Prison. Second, San Ramon Prison and Penal Farm. Third, Iwahig Penal Colony. Fourth, Correctional Institution for Women. Fifth, Davao Penal Colony. Sixth, Sablayan Prison and Penal Farm. 7, Leyte Regional Prison. So let's go to New Bilibid Prison. New Bilibid Prison or NBP. The New Bilibid Prison in Muntinlupa, Metro Manila is the main insular penitentiary designed to house the prison popular of the Philippines. In the manipulated by the Bureau of Corrections or Bucor under the Department of Justice as of May 2018, the NBP houses 28,877 convicted criminals. So, in 1940s, prisoners were transferred to NBP for the Old Bilibid Prison, also known as Carcel y Presidio Correctional, Spanish for Correctional Jail and Military Prison, in Manila. The remains of the old facilities was used by the City of Manila as its detention center, known today as Manila City Jail. So, Manila City Jail is the most famous in Manila kay muni karaan ni siyang prison, and ang New Bilibid Prison is ginatawag og Manila City Jail. So kada mag-report ay kada balita sa TV is ang madungog dayon nako is Manila City Jail ang asa mabutang ang mga mapriso. And this is the New Bilibid Prison. This is the picture of the New Bilibid Prison. And New Bilibid Prison, so the penitentiary had an initial land area of 551 hectares, but 104 hectares were transferred to a housing project of the Department of Justice. Additional land of the BNP reservation is used for the Bureau of Corrections headquarters. So, during Japanese occupation of the Philippines during World War II, Bilibid was a prisoners of war and civilians internee camp where American soldiers and civilians were held by the Japanese. 1,200 internees and POWs were fed by the American Army on February 4, 1945 during the Battle of Manila. So, the all-believed prison, then known as CA200 Presidio Corrections, occurred a rectangular space of land that was part of Mahalika Estates in the heart of Manila. The old prison was established by the Spanish colony government on June 25, 1865 via royal decree. It is divided into two sections: the carcel, which could accommodate 600 inmates, and the presidio, which could hold 527 prisoners. So now let's go to San Ramon Prison and Penal Farm. So according to the historical accounts, the San Ramon Prison was established in southern Zamboanga on August 21, 1873 through the royal decrees promulgated in 1869, established during the tenure of Governor General Ramon Blanco. The facility was originally established for persons convicted of political crimes. So, during the Spanish-American War in 1898, the prisoners in San Ramon were hastily released and the buildings destroyed in 1907. The American administrative re-established the prison farm in 1912. John Prentice, chief executive of the Department of Mindanao and Sulu, classified the institute as a prison and penal colony, and therein confined people sentenced by the court under the jurisdiction. So this was the San Ramon Prison and Penal Farm. So under Pershing supervision, several buildings with a capital for 600 prisoners were constructed after several years. The colony blamed practically self-support with 75,000 coconut trees which were planted at the beginning of Pershing administration, contributing to the colony self-sufficiency. Aside from coconuts, coconut, rice, corn, papaya, and other crops were also cultivated. So, on November 1, 1905, Reorganized Act number 1407 was approved, creating the Bureau of Prison under the Department of Commerce and Police, integrating the all-believed prison, San Ramon Penal Colony, and Iwahig Penal. The Philippine Coconut Authority took over management of coconut farm from San Ramon. In 1995, Congresswoman Maria Clara Lagrabat proposed the transfer of San Ramon Prison to Bongio Town in the mountains area of Zamboanga to give way to Special Economic Zone. So now let's go to Iwahig Penal Colony. Iwahig Penal Colony. The facility was established during the American occupation. It was, however, during the Spanish regime that Puerto Princesa was designed as a place where offenders sentenced to banish were exiled. A specific area of Puerto Princesa was selected as the site for a correctional facility. The American military carved out a prison facility in the rainforest of Puerto Princesa. This institution has for its first superintendent Lieutenant George Wolfe, a member of the U.S. Expeditionary Force who late became the first prisoner director. Governor Luke Wright authorized the establishment of a penal colony in the province of Palawan on November 16, 1904. This penal settled, which originally comprised as an area of 22 arches, originally served as a depository from prisoners who could not be accommodated at the Bilibid prison in Manila. Iwahig Penal Colony. In 1907, however, the Department of Communers and Police moved to the institution into the center of a penal colony supervised in according which the threads at the time. Through the Department of efforts, the Philippine Commission of the United States government passes Act number 1723 in 1907 classifying that settlement as a penal institution. So, the settlement was at first beset by attempt escape, but under the supervision of Col. John R. White of the Philippine Constabulary, who would become superintendent of Iwahig in 1906, the colony became a successful settlement. A merit system was devised for the prisoners and vocational activities for offenders. These includes farming, fishing, forestry, carpentry, and hospital paramedic work. Prisoner could choose the vocational activities they wanted. So Iwahig Penal Colony kay kanang naggama sila og kanang activities na vocational nga matrabaho sa mga prisoners like farming, fishing. So as unsa ilang ganahang piliyon ana, so patrabahoon sila. So dapat naog jud sila mapili isa ana sa mga gimension. So in 1955, Administrative Order number 20 was promulgated by the President and implementary by the Secretary of Justice and the Secretary of Agriculture and Natural Resource. The order allows the distribution of colony lands for cultivation by deserving colonies. The order also contained a list of qualifications for colonies who wishes to apply for a lot of cultivate. The conditions for the settled stays in this land, loan requirements, and were capable of the settled produce lots granted did not exceed 6 hectares. So on August 16, 1959, a committee was created by President Carlos P. Garcia to study the states of national prison. Accordingly, prisoners in Iwahig were divided into two groups: the settlers and colonists. The settlers are those engaged in farming for their own benefits are the one who post applications for lands and cultivate have been approved. So, correctional institution for women. In a report dated January 22, 1959, submitted to a committee created by Administrative Order number 287 by the President of the Philippines, it was noted that before a separate building was constructed especially for women prisoners, all females convicted were confined at the All Believed Prison on Azcárraga Street, Manila. The male prisoners were confined in dormitories near the women quarters. Because of these conditions, vocational activities of these women's prisoners were limited to embroidery. When they become ill, the women were confined in the separate building which served as a hospital, which nurses or prisoners' physician. When women prisoners needed surgery, they will operate at the Believed Prison. So, if ang bahay kay operahan, they will operated inside the prison. Di sila pwede makagawas. Ang mga nurses may naasa prisoners mo adto. So, after the operations, they were transferred to the infirmary for convalescence. Prisoners' authorities were aware of these conditions that the women prisoners had to endure. Consequently, the transfer of the women to a separate site becomes invisible. After the series of negotiations started by Prison Director Ramon Victorio, the Philippine Legislature passes our Republic Act number 3579 in November 1929. It authorized the transfer of all women's inmates to a building in Welfare Vale at Mandaluyong, Rizal at appropriate 60,000 of the move. So this is the institutional corrections for women. So dako siya og lugar. So on February 14, 1931, the women prisoners were transferred from the All Believed Prison to the building specially constructed for them. Its name, Women Prison was changed to Correctional Institution for Women. So gigaman gud ang mga babayi ug mga prisuhan. This was in keeping the emergency trends in penology, which emphasizes correctional rather than punishment. Convicts were brought back into the social mainstream, adjust and rehabilitate with the beard outlook in life. So, CIW, according to a Senate report, occupied 18 hectares. The original structure was one-story building which houses the office, the bridges, mess hall, kitchen, chapel, infirmary, bathroom, and employees' restroom. So, in one-story building, giusa na ni siya tanan. The building has a central courtyard with trees and flowers plants. The prisoners' vocational activities were expanded to include pottery and piggery, as well as cultivation crops, flowers, and fruits. Living quarters for institutional employees were later constructed by the compound during the Japanese occupation. The CIW, despite a distract reduction in the number of employments, continued with its work. A number of female military prisoners were also confined in the institution. They were late fed by the U.S. Army. After the war, the CIW resumed its normal operation. Weekly catechist classes were included. A dental clinic was built. Local telephones were installed. Guard quarters. So, after the kanang mga operations, normal operations, kay nag-start na silag mga build og mga dental clinics, local telephone, gipang butangan na. So the Bureau of Public Workers made major repairs on the main building, and a workshop of infirmary were constructed for the inmates' use. The infirmary during that time could accommodate around 16 patients. So, ang maigo ra sa kanang infirmary kay 16 patients ra ang mabutang, dili na madugangan og lain pa. So, if naay kanang sobra, so mangita sila paagi, like mangita sila kahigdaan sa mga patients. So, in 2000, a new fourth-story building was constructed by the Department of Public Workers within the grant of CIW. It erased the growing constitutions in the facility. The DIY was a capacity for only 200 inmates, had to accommodate 1,000 inmates. So, ang CIW is ma-accommodate siya mga 200 inmates. So, ma-accommodate siya 1,000 sa masulod sa CIY. So, let's go to the Davao Penal Colony. So, the Davao Penal Colony is the first penal settlement founded and organized under the Filipino administration. The settlement, which originally has an area of approximately 300 hectares in district of Panabo and Tagum, Davao del Norte, was formally established on January 21, 1932 by virtue of Act No. 3732. This act authorized the Governor General at least of sale the land, buildings, and improvement in San Ramon Prison and Iwahig Penal Colony. It also granted authorities to the Secretary of Justice to establish a new prison and penal colony in a suit public land. A budget of 500,000 was allocated. Several committees were created to pick a suitable site for penal settlement. So, ang nisugot ang Secretary of Justice na mugamaog new prison ni budget of og 500,000 para sa aning settlement. In according with the recommendation of these committees, Governor Dwight Davis signed Proclamation No. 414 on October 7, 1931, which reserved a site for the penal colony on Davao Province in Mindanao. The site offered ideal conditions for agriculture activities. So, ang Davao mo napilian niya tukuran og penal colony. During the World War III, the colony was covered into a concentration camp where more than 1,000 Japanese interiors were committed by the Philippines American Armed Force. The Japanese were treated in according with the order of the American Commander Office. So, murag ang ilang nakuan kilapad kay mga na mga sagingan for the activities nga mabuhat sa lugar. On December 20, 1941, the Japanese Imperial Forces attacked Davao and the colony was among the establishment taken over by the invading army. The entire settlement was thrown into confusion and great numbers of prisoners escaped. Normal operations were inevitably disrupted. November 8, 1942, a representative of directors of prison transferred the colony and its properties to the Japanese authorities. The remaining colony employees with families and the inmates evacuated to Iwahig, where they organized the Davao Penal Colony at Inagawan Sub-Colony, Palawan. The organizers of the colony in Excel with authorized by virtue of Memorandum Order No. 60 dated on June 28, 1943, and signed by the Director of Prisoners. After the liberation of the Philippines, colony exiled in Palawan returned to its old site in Davao. A great deal of rebuilding and repairing had to be done because the war had almost completely destroyed the colony. So, ipabalik nitong mga tao nga nag-stay sa Palawan and rebuild sila sa Davao Penal Colony kay na destroy jud siya. So let's go to the Sablayan and Penal Farm. So near to Manila than other penal colonies, the Sablayan Penal Colony is located in Occidental Mindoro and relatively new. Established on September 26, 1954, by virtue of President Proclamation Number 72, the penal colony has a total land area of approximately 16,190 hectares. Prison's records show at the first colonies and employees arrived in Sablayan on January 15, 1955. Since then, several buildings has been constructed including the colony's dormitories, employees' quarter, guardhouse, schoolhouse, chapel, recreational hall, and post exchange. So this is the Sablayan Prison and Penal Farm. 3 sub-colonies were late organized. One is a reservation which they remains part of protected rainforest. Another is in a coastal area. The third was used by the national government as a proclamation site for refugees for the eruptions of Mount Pinatubo eruption in 1991. So, Sablayan Prison is a facility where prisoners from NBP are both for deconsegregation purpose. It follows the same colony standard as other penal farm. So, let's go to Leyte Regional Prison. The Leyte Regional Prison stated in Bayou, Southern Leyte, was established a year after the declaration of martial law in 1972 by virtue of Presidential Decree Number 28. While its plantella and institution plant were almost ideal, lack of fund made the prison unhonorable for realize its full potential, and its facilities are often below par compared with those of other establishment of penal farm. The LRP had an inmates capacity of 500. It followed the same agriculture format as main correctional programs in addition to some rehabilitation activity. The prison admits convict offenders from Region 6 and from the National Penitentiary in Muntinlupa. So let's go to the Public Attorney's Office, or PAO. The PAO shall be an independent and autonomous office but attached to Department of Justice according to Section 38, Chapter 7 of the Book 7 of Code for purpose of facility programs condition. The PAO shall be the principal law office of the government in exceeding free legal assistance to indigenous people in criminal, civil, labor, administrative, and other quasi justical cases. So, as I know kanang, if daghang attorneys, this is a public attorney, so if ang prisoner, if walay ang person nga walay ang criminal is need og attorney, they will get an attorney in Public Affairs Office. The Supreme Court PHILGA and MCLF committees in recognition of its mandate and providing free legal services to poor Filipinos according to the PAO as a mandatory continued legal education provides as of August 5, 2002, thereby allowing the PAO to conduct its own training and seminars for its lawyer. Truly, the PAO has become more accessible to the indigenous people, Filipinos, masses who are in the dire need of legal assistance and services. It has become an institution on its own when it comes to providing free legal assistance nation. So the PAO past leadership who all contribute to its growth and expansion since its creations 30 years ago, whereas follows attorneys Oscar M. Ontimer, CLAO, Reynold S. Farajdo, Josefina B. Bacal, and Karina G. Dimasit. So I think that's all for discussion. Thank you for listening.